Well, that wasn't easy or cheap, but in this vlog, I'm going to take you through all the processes of getting a UK registered motorhome onto Spanish plates.
Now, if you're new to this channel, we moved to Spain last year. Now, we love our motorhome, and that prompted us into thinking about how we could possibly get it off the UK plates and registered in Spain so that it was all legal. Our motorhome is a 2005 Swift Kontiki 655 on a Fiat Ducato chassis with a 2.8 JTD engine. Now, there are two ways you can import your British registered motorhome into Spain. The first one is what they call a change of residence, and the second one is a direct import. Now, for us, the best option was the change of residency, and for that, obviously, we had to become Spanish residents. Now, the difference between the two ways is that the change of residence is a lot cheaper, not cheap, but a lot cheaper than a direct import. You must apply for the change of residence within 2 months of starting the application for residency in Spain. Now, it's a highly bureaucratic process, so we recommend that you get somebody like a guester or a lawyer who knows the landscape and have done this thing many times before to help you out. We've used our lawyer, they're brilliant. We'll leave their link to them in the description below. So the next step is to get an appointment at the Spanish customs depot. Now, what they're going to do is they're going to look over your van, check it for legalities, and we'll go to those in a minute, but they're also going to put a nominal price against your vehicle. And I'll explain why this is important later on.
Now, one of the first things that the customs are going to look at is the habitation door. Now, if on a change of residence you're doing it, the habitation door can stay on the left. If, however, you're bringing it under a direct import, they may ask you to make sure that the door is on the opposite side.
Now, we used to have a tow bar here. Part of that inspection looks at the tow bar and whether or not it's legal. Now, legal means that the tow bar comes with a plate that has all the details on the tow bar, which should also match a plate in the van. Now, I think ours was added later, so we didn't, so I had to remove that. And you can't see them here, but we've got two big solar panels on the roof, and they're also looking at how legal they are, how they're fitted, and whether they comply to Spanish safety regulations. Now, the price for that customs inspection was €95. Once they're happy that the van actually is legal, they will give you the paperwork or send it directly to the person who has made the appointment for you, either your guester or your lawyer, and that's the next stage in the process. Once your guester or lawyer has got the paperwork back, they then send that to the Spanish equivalent of the DVLA, who then do their checks and send that paperwork back. And that paperwork is the authority for you to now go and get an ITV, which is effectively an MOT. So the cost of your initial ITV is about €110, and that's because it's an initial one. Thereafter, every time you need to get an ITV, it's around the €50 mark. Now, once they've done all the checks, and they'll do the same checks that you would expect on an MOT, brakes, lights, etc., with a few notable exceptions, which we'll go into now.
First off, headlights. You're now driving in Europe, so you'll need the European specification headlights for your vehicle. They won't accept UK headlights with the sticker. Next, we've got the reversing lights and the fog lights. Now, on a UK spec, the MOT only requires you to have the fog light and the reversing light on the driver's side. In Spain, it has to be on the passenger side, so on the left-hand side of the vehicle. Now, I'm fortunate on this one that we have mirror image on both sides, even though the bulbs weren't in this side. So all I did was put a new bulb here, a new bulb there, and I've got reversing lights on both sides and fog lights on both sides, which complies with Spanish law.
So hopefully you've now got your ITV passed. Now, I had a bit of an issue with ours because the customs obviously said I couldn't have the tow bar, so I just chopped the tow bar off. But when I took it for ITV, they looked underneath the van, realised that the arms of the tow bar were still on, and they wouldn't pass, so it failed that one. So I had to go and get a friendly mechanic to help me remove them because I just didn't have the tools. Now, once your vehicle has successfully passed the ITV, you'll be given 3 sheets of A4 blue paper. They go back to your guestor or your lawyer, who will then take them to the next stage of the application. The next part then is to pay the registration fee. Now, this is where the difference between the change of residence and the direct import comes in. Under the change of residence, you're exempt the tax, the import tax, whereas you're not on a direct import. So at this point, that's when you have to pay that registration fee, because the next stage can't go forward until you have proof of payment for that amount. Now, that next stage is for your guestor or your lawyer to send those 3 bits of blue A4 paper back to the Spanish DVLA, who will then send them the authority for you to go and get your Spanish plates made. Now, that registration fee is based on 2 things. Firstly, that initial inspection I talked about at the customs, they'll have that sort of ballpark figure of what they believe it's worth. The DVLA will also have a figure of what they believe it is worth, and the 2 might not necessarily match. But it's the DVLA figure that comes back, which is what you have to pay that percentage of. Now, we ended up paying just over €3,800 on a valuation of about €21,000. Now, the thing to note here is, although you can negotiate with the DVLA on the price, if you do so, once the taxman gets that money, they might look at the valuation, what they then think your van is worth, look at the tax you paid, and if they don't think it's enough, they will challenge you to prove that your van is only worth what you said. And in most cases, that's not possible, especially if you're undervaluing the wagon in order to get a better price. So the paperwork that we're waiting for from the Spanish DVLA is that authority to go and get your number plates printed. Now, that authority is actually a temporary V5 equivalent for the van, which has the new number plate on it. So you go down, you get your number plates made. Only specific places will make those number plates. They're about €15 for a set. Then once you've got those, you are free to put them on the van. So the final stage then is to get Spanish motorhome insurance. Now, we shopped around quite a lot and were recommended a few companies as well. And in the end, we went with a company called Zalda Caldo. Now, important to note that in Spain, an older motorhome can't be insured for more than third-party fire and theft, so you won't get fully comprehensive. And even then, you'll have to add things like the glass replacement or the breakdown cover. As I said, we went with Zalda Caldo, who are a specialist motorhome insurance company, and we ended up paying about €600 for the year. So let's look at the pros and cons, and let's start then with the cons. The first of which is the cost. Now, it's not cheap. For us, the process cost us about €4,000, and then you've got to add in the price that your guestor or your lawyer is going to charge for doing that for you. It takes a while. So for us, it was about 3 months start to finish. But not only that, but you've got to be really, really timely with your application, because if you miss it, then you've missed that opportunity that I talked about to get the tax-free element of the process. Now, on the pros side, of course, we've now got the van that we love on Spanish plates that we can drive in Spain legally for as long as we want to. And that is absolutely invaluable, because we looked at the sort of the pros and cons of replacing the van and, selling it in the UK and bringing it out here. Motorhomes are quite expensive here in Spain. And for the cost that we would have got for our van, plus the cost that we spent getting it put on plates, we wouldn't have got anywhere near a comparable van that we love as much, because we haven't actually seen one that we love as much, no matter which country we're in. So we're really happy that we followed that process. And we now have a legally drivable van in Spain. However, before we finish this vlog, just got one more final thing to do.
So just remains for me to remove the GB sticker and the UK sticker, and then that's it, job done. Now, if you've got any questions, do put them in the comments below, and I'll endeavour to answer them if I can. If you've enjoyed this, do give us a like and consider subscribing, and I'll see you the next time.